when we're talking about companies and their sustainable strategies, the obvious things are stuff like reducing carbon footprint,
Hmm.
keeping the reputation of the business in a good place. You're just talking about there, and stakeholder goodwill is something else that's they're probably the three obvious things that people will be thinking about. What are the other things that you really need to be thinking about beyond those to make that case genuinely work, Paul?
Well, I think in my experiences, I found in writing the book and speaking to people and whatever, one of them is like we can all remember when at primary school, the first time at primary school, and we had to take tests, didn't we? Um, Obviously, over time they've all changed the names, but we ought to take these tests, and essentially they're all about a baseline, weren't they, to decide which group you would go into. It's probably
Yeah.
changed now, but
Go in the sorting hat.
in my day, it was very much, you take these baseline tests and you would then be put into a group. And sometimes people never change the group they were in for primary school, but that's probably why it had to change at some stage. But anyway, the term I want to use is baseline. We need to know the baseline and make sure it's very verifiable, credible, and properly. Because imagine taking a test like that and it's wrong. It can harm you for a period of time. So the baseline is how do they verify it. What I've noticed from doing strategy retreats in particular, where they give you a nice, fantastic strategic a strategy and a strategic plan that is fantastic looking at it. But then when you look at it, you say, well, where did you get this bit of the strategy from? And you realize they just use the mindset and the organization. They've not got external views about things. So the baseline is very important.
I was just reflecting on what you were saying, and Rob's points, kind of like all the kind of what I call in my world the low hanging fruit. And when I spoke at the UNGC, United Nations Global Compact UK Assembly annual conference last year, and I was on the debating panel with chap from Linklaters, obviously lawyers, and we were discussing the role of regulation and whether it acts as a hindrance or a driver. People just become very compliance orientated rather than affecting change. And every single debating point we had, and there was a load of other people on the debate on the panel, was about people. And I actually think the answer to your question is around individuals and their behaviors. So, for example, we are a global accountancy firm, employ something like 3,000 people. It was just under 400 when I first trained here, and we're 85% of our costs are people, right? So if we didn't engage them in our processes and in our philosophy as an organization, every single policy, procedure, process, complete waste of time, wouldn't work from a sustainability and an ESG perspective. So I think often the hidden dynamic in any strategy, not just sustainability, is have you got the right people doing the right job with the right lens, as Paul said, the sorting hat, or which class you went into, the able or the less able, to be completely politically correct. And I've seen this in my whole career when I ran a big organization and when I'm part of one. The people dynamic, it's also almost impossible to get right. We've all been in situations, right, where there are people that maybe haven't necessarily fit the mold, and how you manage that, and then the unintended consequences of that. So I would say planning that within your sustainability strategy, it comes back to we have a societal license in MHA, which is about how we behave to our people, and then how we expect our people to behave externally. Because if we were an unprofessional, toxic environment, how are our staff going to go and conduct themselves to clients? Equally, have the same process in Hadlow College Group. If we didn't behave correctly, how would they then train those students? And same at University of Kent, I imagine, Paul. And I think that link is often forgotten when it comes to sustainability. It's not just about reports and controls.